welcome back to my channel. So today I'm doing a quick out the door, really quick and easy, I always say that, but really quick and easy makeup. So I realized I haven't done a no makeup look in a really long time. Most days I just walk out the door like this with no makeup, but this is when I want to just look a little bit more put together, no lashes, just a really quick and easy look. I'm going to be using a pore minimizing primer near my nose and on my nose. This is the Smashbox Photo Finish Foundation Primer, the pore minimizing one. I do have dry skin, but I also have really large pores. So this one is mattifying, but it's not overtly drying, if that makes any sense. So it will control oil if you do get oily. So I just have to make sure to moisturize before applying something like this. I just apply this on the sides of my nose and then a little bit on my nose. And on the rest of my face, I'm going to be using the Becca Backlight Priming Filter Primer. If you have really oily skin, you might not want to use so much of this, but I have really dry skin and I like using this underneath my makeup just to kind of give it a little bit more of a glow. But most of the time I use a matte foundation, so this is just going to help it not look so dry on my skin. So I'm going to apply this with my beauty blender because any residue or any product that's left on the beauty blender will stay in it or on it, and then when you put your foundation on, it still has a little bit of that. You can also do this with your moisturizer, so you can use the tool that you're using to apply your foundation, whether it's a beauty blender or a brush. Use that same tool for your priming, for your moisturizing, and then it's just gonna help with the foundation going on a lot better, and any product that's left on top is gonna be kind of mixed in with your foundation. And it doesn't really give you an intense glow, just a minor glow, but we are gonna put foundation on top. So on days that I'm not doing eyeshadow or anything intense on my eyes, I like doing my foundation first. One, I feel like it saves me a lot of time because the base is what takes me the longest, especially with the look that we're going for today. It's not much on the eyes, it's pretty much just like mascara and maybe like one eyeshadow, maybe eyelashes, but pretty much the focus is the skin. I still bronze, I still highlight and do all of that. So I feel like the skin is what takes the longest, so I like to kind of get that out of the way. So I'm going to be using the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless and the shade 125. Now usually I use shade 220, but I am pretty fair right now, so I might mix these two. So I'm going to go ahead and see how this one looks. So this is 125. So I just apply some to my beauty blender and then just apply to my face. And I like this foundation because it looks like skin. It doesn't look cakey. It doesn't look too dry. It doesn't look too oily. It's just a perfect skin like natural finish. You can use any foundation obviously that you like. I just find that this one gives me the most natural skin like finish. I do prefer the shade 220, so I mix in a little bit because 125 for some reason is a little bit darker, and it's also more on the neutral side, but it leans more towards like the pinky kind of tone. So I do like 220 for my skin tone better. And I'm just bouncing this all over my face, making sure to get every little area. Don't forget the neck. I don't really like applying foundation or concealer to my eyelids, even though they are pretty discolored, because I feel like that gives you more of like a full coverage look, which we're not really going for today. So I kind of just skip that area, and I do bring some down to my neck and also my ears. Now for concealer, I'm going to be mixing two Nars concealers. One is in Custard and one is in Chantilly. Chantilly is just a little bit too light, so I'm just going to mix in a little bit of this one, Custard. And these are the soft matte concealers, and I'm going to be applying this with a brush. Custard does look good on its own. I just prefer a little bit more brightness. So I'm just laying down Custard and then just a little bit of Chantilly right in the center, so like this kind of area, just for some extra added brightness. And then I'm just going to blend that out with my beauty blender, making sure to get really up onto the sides of my nose, which is going to kind of like lightly contour without having to contour the nose. This concealer is nice because it is full coverage, I feel, or like a medium to full coverage, depending on how much you use. But because it is matte, you don't have to use as much powder to set it. So with a dewy concealer like the Tarte Shape Tape or any other concealer that's very liquidy, I feel like you have to really set it so it doesn't crease, where this one doesn't really need too much setting. So I feel like you use less powder, which is going to give you a less cakey look. Even though it's matte, I feel like it's more natural looking because you just need less product and it just sets really nicely. Now I'm going to be doing a really light bake, and this is the Dermablend setting powder. Since my beauty blender is already damp, I feel like it's a lot easier to just go in with a tool that I already have out and ready to use. So sometimes when I don't want to really think about what brush I want to set my under eye with, what powder, like what pressed powder I want to use, it's just a lot quicker to bake. And the reason why I said it's a light bake is because I'm barely using any product. It looks like it has a lot of product, but it really isn't. This powder is very thin. And then I just kind of do a little bit on the center of my nose where I do get a little bit oily throughout the day. I'm just going to quickly brush out my brows, and sometimes I like using the Brow Wiz, sometimes I like using the brow definer. It just depends on the day. Today today I'm doing the Brow Wiz, and this is in the shade Dark Brown. My eyebrows are microbladed, so I don't have to do too much, which saves me a lot of time and trouble and effort, which I'm so grateful for Pirette for being such an amazing eyebrow specialist. So basically I don't really have to do too much, but I do still like to kind of go underneath my brow, and I'm using a really light touch. Since I am wearing makeup on the rest of my face, I just feel like this step completes the look. So I'm doing really light strokes, and I'm just following my natural brow. I do like making my eyebrow just a little bit longer, a little bit fuller. Nothing too crazy, just a tiny bit. So now I'm just going to wipe away this powder. I like to apply whatever is left on the brush over my lid because my lids do get oily on their own, even with no makeup. I'm going to take the teeniest amount of this Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Compact in the shade 4 and then just set the rest of my face. I really like to take my time with mascaras. Today I'm going to start off with the Lancome Grandiose. I really love this one. It has a nice curved wand, so it's really easy to get up on your lashes. And I always layer my mascara. Even if it's just two, I always feel like I have to layer. One is just never enough. So I start at the base and I kind of wiggle my way up, and I'm just coating my lash, and I start at the base, wiggle, and then kind of let go. So that's just that first coat, and I like to work pretty quickly because I don't want my lashes drying too much in between the different mascaras, because then it'll get really clumpy. So I work pretty quickly. And then the next mascara that I'm going to use is the It Cosmetics Superhero. I think mascara makes such a difference. I feel so much more awake. My eyes just feel a lot more open when I wear mascara. I like to kind of blink also when I'm doing my mascara because it'll kind of just elongate the lashes. If you want to grow your lashes out, you can use pure castor oil on them every single night, or even like Vaseline, I find works. And then I'm just going to hit my bottom ones with this Kevyn Aucoin The Volume Mascara. And of course I get mascara on my nose. Every time I'm filming and I do this, I get mascara on my nose because I want to angle myself correctly, and then the brush wand always touches my nose. I'm gonna let that just kind of sit there, and then once it dries I can scratch it off. If you try wiping it off and it's still wet, it's gonna make a mess. Unless I use a really light coat of mascara or just use one, they're always gonna clump up. So it's something that I'm used to. A trick that I have is to take some black liner and to just apply it on your upper lash line. So even if you're not doing eyeliner, like liquid liner, I still like to do this because it makes your lashes appear fuller. I'm using this Ray Morris Deluxe Kabuki brush with my MAC MSF in Dark Golden. This is just going to give my face a lot more definition and a lot more color because I am quite fair. Take that same bronzer on any fluffy crease brush and I'll just apply it into my crease. This is gonna kind of hide the fact that I have a lot of discoloration on my lids. I like doing this because it also masks the dryness that I have on my eyelids, and it just kind of lifts the eye and gives it a little bit more color and a little bit more oomph. Using the bronzer is just quick and easy because it's already out, but you can use an eyeshadow. Just make sure it's at least one shade darker than your skin tone. I like to do like 2 to 3 shades darker than my skin tone because I like that look, but I also like a really warm look, so that's why I like using my bronzer. But you can use a cool tone shadow if that's what you prefer, or your contour. For blush, I want something super natural and really light, so I'm going to be using Warm Soul from MAC. This is a mineralized blush, so it's not as pigmented, it's not matte, it's not flat, and it just gives you a nice like flushed look, but nothing too pigmented. I like to apply it on my apples and then just bring it upwards. Now that this little mascara spot is dry, we can just scratch it off. So you just use any spoolie and you just scratch it off. I'm going to quickly just spray my face with some Fix Plus. You can use your setting spray, but I like using Fix Plus because it gives my skin a little bit of moisture. And we're doing this before our highlight because our highlight will look so much better if our skin is a little bit damp and set with some spray. So I'm just going to use whatever's left of this MAC one and just spray my face. That's also going to diminish any like cakiness or powdery look that we have from our setting powder, and I'm just going to use this fan to quickly fan myself off. On days that I want a more natural look or I'm just doing something simple, I love using the Mirabella Swirling Pearl Highlight because it doesn't emphasize texture, it doesn't look too cakey, and it's the perfect tone. It's like a silvery pearl color. So I'm taking the Anastasia number 25 brush. I always use this to highlight, and I just go to town on my cheeks. I like doing this step when I feel the setting spray kind of sinking in and settling in, not when it's completely dry and not when it's too wet. So you kind of have to find that perfect moment to highlight. But once you kind of feel it tingling or setting in, that's when you want to just hit the cheeks with some glow, because it's just going to look so much better and it just looks so much more pigmented and it just blends into the skin better. A little bit on the nose and then on the cupid's bow. And then I'll take the beauty blender on the other side, not the side that has the powder, on the butt, and I'll just press everything in. This just gives it more of a natural look, and it just presses the highlight in so that it lasts longer. So if you don't want a toned down highlight, that I wouldn't suggest doing this too much, but it just presses the highlight in, so I feel like it lasts longer, and it also just looks a lot more skin-like. For lips, I'm gonna use the Makeup Forever lip liner in 3C, which is kind of like my skin tone but a little bit darker. I love this lip liner because it lasts so long and it doesn't look too fake on me. It's not too dark. It's like the perfect shade. I spoke about it in my favorites video, so I'm just gonna line my lips, not overlining, just lining the lips that I have. For lipstick, I'm going to be using this Tarte Rum Punch one. It's a little bit darker than Beach Babe, and I like that because it just doesn't look too done up. I'm going to take a little bit of this dark shadow, Nars Galapagos, and I'm just going to apply it on my lower lash line, really close to my lower lash line, just because I feel like my eyes just look a little bit more defined when I do this. Since my eyes are pretty big, I like doing this because it kind of evens them out. And for a little added brightness, the Kadar light yellow powder right underneath my eyes to really brighten up this area. And a little bit of eyebrow gel just to kind of tame these hairs and make them look a little bit more put together. And just a teeny amount of contour on the nose. And then just some setting spray and we're done. So here is the final look. Super simple. You don't look like you have too much makeup, but you still have makeup on. You're still glowing. Your eyes look brighter, bigger, and you just look more even overall. So this is my quick out the door makeup. Again, it took longer because I was talking through everything and really taking my time because I'm on camera, so I want to make sure like you guys can see everything, but I can pretty much do it without a mirror. It's just really simple. It's foundation, highlight, bronzer, a little bit of a crease color, a lot of mascara, and some nude lips. So I'm actually out the door myself right now, so I gotta go. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.